Hello, it is Sarah Waggle, your astro coach here for your Taurus season, sun, and rising signs. And this will cover the Taurus new moon on April 27th and the Scorpio full moon on May 12th. So we will talk about those. We'll talk about some other transits concurrent with those. Of course, we're in the middle of the Mars-Pluto opposition with Neptune. We've had the Sun square that transit, and Mercury will come in and square Pluto as well. And shortly here, we will have Mars move out of his post-retrograde shadow, Mercury move out of his post-retrograde shadow, and we'll be moving right along. Venus is going to move back into Aries. And so we're going to have more fire. And so what I have observed, what I've noticed is injuries and or body discomforts. If you are not experiencing some sort of physical discomfort, good for you. Number one. Number two, are you even paying attention to your body? So I'm present to lots of various back and hip type injuries or discomforts, pain, tightness, things that make it a little hard to move. Yet the energy is suggestive that we do move our body. You need to move the tension energy through your system. And it's kind of getting stuck in that root chakra region. I'm also noticing a lot of gut discomfort, particularly with those who may have placements, Virgo placements, in the latter degrees of Virgo. So we'll say 24 to 29 degrees Virgo. If you have anything there, you may be noticing gut discomfort and things like that. And again, if you're not noticing these things, number one, are you paying attention? And number two, good for you. But this energy is definitely testing us big time. It's because it's big time energy. So a couple things to keep in mind. This is the year of the snake in Chinese astrology, and snakes are about transformation, snakes shed their skin. And that's kind of what we're doing is shedding our skin. So I feel like for the last couple of months here, we've had that Pisces stellium of, or you can think about it as a pileup because I don't think you can't put a node in a stellium. But we have had pretty close to a stellium because we have had the presence of Saturn, Neptune, Venus, and or Mercury. And so at various points, we have had a stellium in Pisces between 24 and 29 degrees of Pisces. We're sort of moving out of that now, but I would really invite you, whether you know where it lands in your natal chart or not, is to really tune in to what are you done with? What are you cutting your time and your energy off from? Because this is hitting people differently, right? For some of us, it's hitting us we've been triggered by every inner child wound, and we've decided that we're not doing that anymore. For other people, this has been like, nope, I don't want to live there. I don't want to work there. I don't want to give my time and energy to that job, that relationship, unless something changes in that relationship. I have noticed either relationships have changed or they've ended completely with that Venus retrograde. And then some relationships have made like a serious shift. Now, this is for people who are doing the work. For people who are not doing the work, I am definitely very present. I think the contrast is getting more defined as to who does inner work, emotional healing work, emotional intelligence work, meditations, and things like that. It's getting very, very noticeable who is and who is not doing that kind of work. And unfortunately, it's actually having a lot of people who are doing the work be done with people who are not doing the work. And, just saying to hell with it and cutting their losses. Again, this is ending relationships, friendships, even like families saying they're done, things like that. And so, as we come into this Taurus season, and I realize we're well into it at the time of this recording and this video getting posted, But as we move into this Taurus season, I really want to invite you to think about what is in the way of you acquiring practical resources necessary for you to have the life you want, do the projects you want to do, have the creative vibe, energy, frequency that you want. Okay. Because if we stay stagnant, which kind of isn't going to happen this year, I mean, there's some people that are going to stay stuck in their shit. That's just how it's going to go, unfortunately. But for those who are ready to make a leap forward, who are ready to, I really want to invite you during this Taurus season to really consider what you need practically, right? And I'll also say this, whether you have the money or not, you have the resources that you need, or you know how to acquire those resources, right? Maybe you need to relocate. I know a lot of people who are looking to relocate. I'm one of them. I know a lot of people who are pursuing a new trajectory with their whatever, whether it's their creative ambitions, their job, how they fund their creative ambitions, how, that they're choosing to do more nomadic or van life or RV life type living so that they aren't tied down to a certain place. That's one thing. And some people who are just simply getting their shit together and prioritizing their passion, their desire, right? Or they're saying no and setting boundaries towards the things that don't allow them to step into a new, right? That's what the Saturn Venus North Node conjunction has really been about, is now you can look back and be like, what am I fucking done with? And where am I unwilling to put my energy towards or my time towards anymore because I'm just not going to be treated that way. I'm not going to be subject myself to those things. I'm going to, so there's something that you're done with that's going to open up you to a new path. And so this Taurus season all about practicality and money and self-worth and value, and all of those things. Really dig into what is opening up for you as far as a practical resource to move forward. Again, this could be relocation. This could be just tuning into your self-worth, acknowledging that you're an abundant being, any number of things. I also wanted to point out, and I'm hopefully going to remember to point this out again when we get into the sun signs. There's a couple of groups of people who may be more affected by this energy than other groups of people. And that would be people born between 1967 and 1969. You are the folks who have Uranus, if not Uranus and Pluto, in the latter degrees of Virgo. I've heard a lot from these people. They're really going through it right now. And these are it's probably Uranus and Pluto between 24 to 29 degrees of Virgo. And that's because all the concentrated energy in Pisces is opposing the Uranus-Pluto conjunction, therefore causing perhaps some upset or what the fuck energy, or like what, could be some digestive issues, could be, and digestive issues, which is a gut brain thing because, right, Virgo is the gut brain relationship. And so it could be just pointing out to you, like, where are you feeling, what part of your life have you not been tuning into your own personal authority or your personal power? And it's time to reclaim that personal power. So that's one group of people. The other group of people that I've been attentive to is those born between 1981 and 1985. And these are folks who have Neptune in the latter degrees of Sagittarius. Therefore, the Pisces stellium has been squaring your Neptune, which means you're probably delusional and you're probably not thinking straight and you're not thinking clearly, and therefore maybe wreaking havoc on other relationships in your life. In fact, if you just heard me say that, you're like, she's full of shit. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Seriously, that's literally what somebody's saying that's watching this video who heard me say your Neptune is squaring the Pisces stellium. She's full of shit. It's okay. It's okay. This is just astrology. I'm just looking at charts and observing behaviors. Okay, the other thing I want to talk about before we look at the charts and get into your sun signs is that the world is crazy. It's going to continue. There is no stability in the chart. This was something that I know I wasn't the only astrologer who pointed this out earlier this year when we get into all this fire energy between Mars and Leo and soon to be Venus, Neptune. And Mercury and Chiron in Aries. Okay. And then you've got Pluto in Aquarius. Uranus is about to enter Gemini here in a month or so, a couple months. This is not stable energy anymore. It's gone. It's gone. You have to learn to be with it. Um, and unfortunately, we just came out of a Neptune and Pisces stretch of time from 2011 till now. We had Neptune and Pisces. It was a bit more coddling. It was a bit more comfortable. It's not comfortable anymore. Now, Neptune will retrograde later this year and go back into Pisces. So we'll get a little bit of reprieve before the big bang bang energy happens next year. But if you're noticing how you are responding or reacting to this fast-paced fire energy, I highly recommend that you find some ways to stabilize yourself. All of those grounding things, using good essential oils, using some yoga practice, getting out in nature and taking a walk outside amongst the grass and the trees, getting some sunlight, taking the time to sit down and eat a meal without your phone or without a device. I'm bad at that, by the way. Um, taking the time to one by one do your tasks, try not to multitask, basically. Okay. Really be intentional about the slowdown that your body, your nervous system, your cardio system needs, right? Your mental system, your mental state needs you to slow down. You're going to have to be the stability for yourself because we aren't going to get any. Also, like I said before, this is also like Neptune's not in Pisces. We don't have the coddling energy of Neptune in a comfortable sign anymore. We're now in Neptune in Aries. And yes, Neptune will retrograde back, but it won't last long. It's a few months, but it won't. By then, Uranus is going to be in Gemini and it's going to be really weird. And I realize things are changing zippity zappity fast, and that's going to continue, right? At least probably until I would say August of this high rate of energy. And then, we may get a couple of months reprieve, um, August through maybe January or something. But we're here now and we have to be the ones to practice being present and practice grounding, practice taking time to listen to our bodies. This is where a lot of people can get into the very masculine energy of go, 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 go. I have to get this done. I have to get that done. I have to get this done. I have to get that done. And they don't intentionally. I'm just as guilty of this, right? I'm like, oh, I can just go, go, go. And then all of a sudden I can't keep track of anything, or my body is tired and I don't realize it and I don't take a break and things like that. So we're all going to have to go through this process of learning how to intentionally rest and intentionally slow down because the energy is not there for it. It's not. So keep those things in mind too as we continue to move forward. We do not have a lot of grounding. In fact, there's not a lot of grounding energy for the foreseeable future. So unfortunately, here we are. Taurus, the sun in Taurus is about all we get. The only other placements we have in earth signs is the South Node in Virgo, which isn't exactly grounding, and Uranus in the latter degrees of Taurus. Also not the least bit grounding. So we don't have anything totally supportive. Um, I would say we might get some sort of grounding energy um, once we get into it might be the latter part of May. Um, Let me see if I can make some sense of it really fast. Yeah, it's going to be quite a while. I was looking for Venus going into Taurus. that's going to be well into Gemini season. And then you're going to have the Sun, Mercury, and Jupiter in Gemini. So Venus and Taurus won't even, yes, that's one of her home signs. That's not until the beginning of June. So even Venus and Taurus is probably not going to be as grounding as we would like it to be, because by then you're going to have a planet pileup happening in Gemini. And Gemini is not a grounding sign. It's very airy. So the point is you're going to need to take advantage of your own intentional space, and your own intentional, unplugging your Wi-Fi, leaving your phone in the other room, setting time limits on your apps, setting do not disturb so you don't get disrupted, so you can focus on tasks. Some people even find, I know I do this, is that our circadian rhythms sort of shift. Like during the winter time, we can sleep at night, be up during the day because it's kind of warmer, sunnier. But in the summer, I find that I do more at night than during the day, because everyone else is up and the energy is so active during the day, that I find it exhausting. So you may even find differences in your circadian rhythms. And I can hear people saying, but I have a day job. I understand that. And this is where choices get to be made. And I get that there's people very scared about money, money resources. This financial situation is not going to settle down anytime soon. In fact, if anything, it's going to accelerate. And so you're going to have to make some choices. What I will say is that let's just say you are a laborer, okay? Most labor jobs, construction, things like that, you could probably make more money being a private contract, independent person doing that skill than working in a day-to-day factory. Now, that kind of brings up the whole but we don't manufacture anything in the United States, and now we have this tariff problem. I get that. This is choices. This all comes back to making choices. So anyway, so I don't really have a good answer. I'm just presenting the option that you could go private and make more money and therefore maybe have a more stable financial system. But it's that's up to an individual person and or family situation. There are different ways of doing things, and maybe it's time to do something a very different way is what I'm suggesting. And so, yeah. I think that's it. Let's take a look at the new moon in Taurus chart for April 27th, and then the full moon in Scorpio that's going to be on May 12th. And then I have the final day of Taurus season chart. Thought that would be helpful to give you an idea of here's where we are and here's where we'll be by the end of Taurus season. And so let's take a look at those charts and go from there. Okay. Okay. All righty. Here's where we are. This is April 27th. This is a Sunday. I don't know why I couldn't keep it straight whether this was a Saturday or a Sunday, but it's a Sunday, April 27th, peaks at 2:29 p.m. That is Central Time. It's at 7 degrees of Taurus. So if you have placements in the early degrees of the fixed signs, I would say from 1 degree till about 8 degrees, because this new moon is in a widening T-square with Pluto and Mars at 4 degrees of Leo. So we have that T-square continuing. I posted here on YouTube earlier this week about my software doesn't have Black Moon Lilith, but Black Moon Lilith is in Scorpio, offering us a fixed grand cross with all this energy. And so I don't talk about Lilith very often because it's very confusing. There's like three Liliths in astrology. And so my program has one of the versions of Lilith, but it's not the one that they're talking about, that we're talking about. And I could go on astro.com and look at the correct chart, but it's a white chart with black text, and I prefer dark mode. So yeah, I feel like that's a flaw on the program, not on me, because why aren't all these asteroids available in my software? But anyway, I digress. But let's just think of this as a T-square. I think many of you are not advanced enough to add the asteroids in anyway, and that's not criticism. That's just everyone's going to experience asteroids very differently, and that's why I don't use them quite a bit because I feel like meat and potatoes astrology is certainly sufficient to understand the energy. I do use Chiron, who is an asteroid, but I do find Chiron to be helpful when working with clients and when working with collective astrology. And so I do use Chiron, but I don't really use any other asteroids. I may use Ceres, I may use Hygieia, but not typically. They're not what I first look at. I look at the planets. That pretty much tells me what I need. So anyway, so 1 degree till probably 8 degrees of the fixed signs. So Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, if you have placements in those areas, then this new moon square Pluto, adding the T-square of Mars, may be adding some tension to your day-to-day life right now because you're in a power struggle of what the fuck do I do? Now, I can tell you that this has been coming up with me about being scared about abandonment, which is one of my core wounds. And so just know that if you're experiencing like a fear right now, that's Pluto and Aquarius. Pluto is about fears. And just know that you have to trust a power outside of yourself to know that everything's okay. Sit with yourself. Have a little inner dialogue with yourself to really help yourself understand what you're meant to experience right now, why this fear is in your face right now, and all of that. Okay, what else have we got going on in the chart? We got Mars at 4 degrees Leo, almost out of his post-retrograde shadow. We've got Jupiter at 20 degrees of Gemini. We're going to start to, I haven't really talked about Jupiter a lot lately because he hasn't been aspecting much of anything, but that's about to change throughout this Taurus season, as we'll see in the full moon chart, and certainly in the final day of Taurus season chart. Jupiter is going to start T-squaring the north and the south nodes in Pisces Virgo. So we'll definitely be talking with the mutable signs. So Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. We'll be talking to you guys about those final degree, those latter degrees of your sign and any placements that you have that'll be affected by this building T-square between Jupiter and the north and the south node. And so you guys might be headed for some amplified transformation. Now, that doesn't mean that the fixed signs, the cardinal signs are off the hook, because if you have any placements in your charts on those areas of the mutable signs, you could still be highly affected. Like I talked about with the Uranus, Pluto, and Virgo folks, some of those folks are Taurus suns, Aries risings, moon in Aquarius type people. That's just random, but you know what I mean. But they happen to have this setup in Virgo, which we don't usually think about the outer planets, but you know, we usually look first at Mars, Venus, and Mercury. But in this case, these outer planets are important. Now, Jupiter is considered a social planet. And so, but yeah, the T-square between the nodes and Jupiter is going to get pretty loud later on this month. And so we'll talk more about that here in a minute. We got Neptune hanging out at 0 degrees and 59 minutes. So shortly after this new moon, Neptune's going to move to 1 degree of Aries. Mercury is at 11 degrees of Aries out of his post-retrograde shadow. So he's going to start moving full speed ahead. Still in Pisces, we have the North Node at 25, Saturn at 27, and Venus at 28. So shortly after this new moon, in my daily wellness astrology videos, I will be talking about Venus moving back into Aries. So you'll want to watch my daily videos to get all of the day by day, blow by blow updates on where these planets are. So we have a T-square and another T-square building with Jupiter and the nodes. But as far as on this new moon, it's a T-square between the new moon in Taurus and Mars and Pluto. And so we know from a T-square, that means that the apex In this case, the new moon at 7 degrees of Taurus is the release point, meaning practical, resourceful, self-worth, caring about yourself, valuing yourself, and having valuable resources that you need in order to sustain, in order to thrive, and all of those things. What have you learned from that Saturn Venus conjunction with the North Node? That was very important as we move forward to acknowledge and see what came out for you during that Saturn Venus North Node conjunction. That lasted for a good 10 days. Actually, it was more than that. It was like 3 weeks. 3 weeks, so 21 days. That lasted that long for a reason. When we have a transit that typically would last a day and it lasts 21 days, it's meant to show us something important that we need to see. And so there we are. I also want to point out this new moon's happening on the 27th, and about 6 days, 7 days, 7 days after, so about the first quarter square moon in Leo is when Pluto will station retrograde, which for us individually, we may not feel unless you have placements on that 3 degrees of the fixed signs point, but we will probably see something in the geopolitical energies with regard to that Pluto retrograde. But we'll talk more about that in the dailies, so be sure to check out those daily forecasts. Those are the wellness astrology ones. So yeah, okay, let's move on to the full moon in Scorpio. Y'all know how much I love a full moon in Scorpio. Yeah, they're my favorite because they typically land on my stuff in Scorpio. Okay, so this full moon in Scorpio is going to peak on May 12th. That is a Monday. Yeah. It's going to peak at 11:59 and 55 seconds a.m. Central Time. And it's at 22 degrees of Scorpio. We have Mars at 11 Leo. We've got Jupiter at 23 Gemini. This thing is within 4 degrees, so it is a conjunction to Uranus and Taurus. Mercury is going to be squaring. Mercury is at 3 degrees Taurus. On this date, the 12th, it's going to be squaring Pluto in Aquarius. Now, what I'll say is that this Mercury is going to start squaring Pluto in Aquarius pretty much as the moon moves into Scorpio, which will be the day before, because remember, this is at 22 degrees. And so Mercury is going to square Pluto. This is where we could really start to see collective unrest and people getting vocal about it. So there could be more protests, more just people vocalizing, movements, groups of people. But I would really like to remind you to keep in mind that there's 2 ways that Pluto and Aquarius can go. There's the light, which is everyone's unique and everyone's going to embrace their authentic being. But the dark side of Pluto and Aquarius is the Borg, or if you ever go listen to the Age of Aquarius song, and that group all dressed the same. If you've ever looked at people who wear uniforms and they dress the same, right? The Borg from Star Trek, if you're unfamiliar, go look up a Borg, something about the Borg on YouTube. I'm sure there's something out there. The Borg functions as a collective hive mind, and they can't function without the collective hive mind. They can't function independently of each other. We noticed that when in Borg in Star Trek Next Generation, when Hugh is taken from the Borg, he doesn't know how to be an individual. We noticed it with Star Trek Voyager with 7 of 9. She didn't know, and she resisted being an individual because she was so used to that collective mind and not knowing how to do life without the collective input. And so this is the dark energy of Aquarius, is everybody goes along and goes along to get along. And so I feel like that's where a lot of these movements and protests and potential like unrest, like, are you really that mad about it? Or are you just going along because your friend said so? Um, Kind of thing could be the flavor of energy. So, you know, um, yeah, it's like, well, my colleagues are doing it this way, my church friends are doing it this way. The political party that I support is doing it this way. Just because that's them. That does not mean you have to follow suit, right? Remember, if you find a video that's trending from an influencer on TikTok, that by the time you see that video, the trend is probably obsolete. So jumping on the trend bandwagon is not going to gain you followers because you're already following a trend that's outdated. Even if that's 24 hours later, right? In TikTok land, that's how long things last. And so it's just something to keep in mind when we think about these collective movements. Is that, are these people actually being authentic, or are they just following along because someone told them to, right? There's been a few rallies, I suppose, that are against our current president. And I'm not here to say what is right or what is wrong. But when you're interviewed by someone in the independent media and you can't explain in a, you know, some kind of a good articulate fashion why you're there rallying, and yet you just kind of get pissed and defensive. Are you really there for the right reasons? It's a question to ask yourself. So, but as far as individually, I think this is where people could get a little bit restless, unsettled, and really start to verbalize how they feel about themselves. Um, Perhaps they can find that compassion within themselves. Um, in that Scorpio full moon with Pluto there, who's one of the co-rulers of Scorpio, like fears. There could be a lot of fear mongering going on with this full moon, but something's getting illuminated, which could really help, give some relief. Um, and so I don't know. I think overall, like the energy and the vibe that I have right now is that people need to stop being the rescuer, stop coddling each other, and people need to just like, this is who I am. And if you don't like it, you don't like it, right? Um, but it shouldn't even be about whether people don't do it out of spite or out of a fuck you attitude or whatever. It's like, just be yourself. People will like you when you're yourself. And that means that other people who you thought liked you may not like you. But the more that you're yourself, the people who are meant to like you and will find you, right? You'll attract them in. Okay, so that's that. We do have Chiron at 24, Aries. I will say that the Libra moon that's going to happen, we'll say the 9th and 10th, so the days leading up to this Scorpio full moon, the Libra moon leading up to that is a little unsteady for a Libra moon because it's going to oppose all the Aries stuff. So just be aware that maybe like the 9th through the 24th or the 21st, like things may be a little, what am I saying? The 9th through the 12th might be a little unsteady. We got the North Node at 25, Saturn at 28, and Neptune at 1 degree Aries. Venus is at 8, almost out of her post-retrograde shadow. And that's kind of it for this chart. So all in all, it could be it could be a very unstable full moon, but it's a Scorpio full moon. What the hell do you expect? um, the Scorpio moons rarely come for me without some hiccup. So I'm not saying it's that way for everyone. That's really just my experience of Scorpio moons. But I do feel like there could be a lot of fear-based stuff come up and verbalized and whatnot. And maybe it's an opportunity for you to talk about what really scares you about being authentic. Like what really does scare you about being authentic? Um, because at this point in the game, honestly, some of these TikTokers, influencers have and podcasters have some of the absolute worst video quality, sound quality, da 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 da. Like I listen to a podcast sometimes and am just appalled at the terrible sound quality. Like, did you record it in a fucking tin can? Right? With all of these sophisticated microphones and sound absorbing stuff. And I know I'm not the best. I understand that. But um anyway, so what I'm saying to that is don't worry about, stop worrying about like what's in the way of you doing the thing because there's people who have successful podcasts and successful social media and they have like some of the crappiest quality content I've ever listened to or watched. So I said the same thing when we were in 2020 and 2021 and everything was on Zoom and I couldn't figure out why a fucking sighted person couldn't figure out how to use their camera and I could figure out mine. Anyway, I digress. Okay, and then I wanted to show you, this is the last chart of Taurus season. What we have here is Jupiter at 25, directly T-squaring the nodes at 25 Pisces Virgo. Saturn is at 29, 39, so we're about 21 geometric minutes, just a few days basically from Saturn ingressing into Aries, where he will, Saturn is a boy, it's Chronos. We will start to have the dance between, I mean, at this point, they're already in an out of sign conjunction, but as soon as Saturn crosses that line into Aries, so starting in Gemini season, we will definitely be talking about the ongoing conjunction. You thought the Venus Saturn conjunction was long. This Neptune Saturn conjunction is going to last for months, months because it's not exact. They're going to dance within a degree of each other from the end of Taurus, from Gemini season. So what, May 20th, through what, March of next year, March of 2026. So you're going to want to pay attention to this energy between Saturn and Neptune. You have Saturn, which is rules, restrictions, time, being responsible, being disciplined. And you've got Neptune, who's just hanging out in the ocean and all creative and flowy. And they're going to be in this a fire sign. And whoo, it's gonna be some energy. It's gonna be some energy. Um, what else we have going on? We have Mercury at 18, so heading into a conjunction with Uranus. Of course, we will have the Sun Uranus conjunction about 2 days before the end of Taurus season. That's actually going to be the last Uranus Sun Uranus conjunction in Taurus for 80 years. So that's cool. Um, Venus is at 14. I realize I'm kind of jumping all over the chart. The moon will be in Pisces, and we have Pluto retrograde at 3 degrees of Aquarius, and he will retrograde staying within the bounds of Aquarius at this point. Mars is at 15 degrees of Leo. And so this is the end of Taurus season. It I again, I think the final word here is that this Taurus season is really about making choices for yourself, and following a trajectory that makes practical sense, but also at the same time follows your soul mission, not the mission of someone else, not the mission of your parents or your kids or following the upward ladder of corporate America or whatever. This is you needing to follow your heart. So That's what I got for the charts. Let's see. All right, so before I jump into the sun signs, because we will go through them, number one, keep in mind that if you were born between 1967 and 1969, you may be highly affected by the planet pileup in Pisces. So the last month or two might have been a rough ride for you because you have Uranus and Pluto, or at least Uranus in the latter degrees of Virgo. If you were born between 1981 and 1985, you may feel like you can't make sense of life right now because the Pisces energy is squaring your Neptune. And so it's okay. You're going to be okay. It's almost over. But it is going to be an ongoing thing as Neptune is going to go back into Pisces. So um, those two folks, those two groups of folks are going through it. So as I have said, if you have planets or points in the latter degrees, 24 to 29 degrees of the mutable signs, Pisces, Gemini, Virgo, and Sagittarius, you're being affected by the constant movement between the planets and the latter degrees of Pisces. Things may not make sense right now. Things may feel very upsetting right now. That is where you are. And so fixed signs, you are in the first few degrees of the fixed signs, 0 degrees till probably about 8 degrees with that new moon in Taurus, because of the opposition between Mars and Pluto, and the T-squares happening in the early degrees of Taurus. So if you have planets or points in the 0 to 8 degree area of Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius, this is where the power struggle is happening for you, particularly if you have planets or points in the first 8 degrees of Scorpio, because that makes that grand cross. So anywho, that's that. Okay, let's get into your sun signs. We got the Woodland Wardens card deck, and let's get into this. All right, Aries, Aries sun, Aries rising. This is your forecast for Taurus season 2025 to include the Taurus new moon on April 27th and the Scorpio full moon on May 12th. Okay, so Taurus, Scorpio are the money house, are in your second and your eighth house, which are money houses, and they are money signs. Taurus being like practical, how you earn money, and Scorpio meaning like intimate relationships, contracts, and other people's money. And so what I see here is that you could be reevaluating your how you're getting money, how you're earning money, but the problem now becomes that you have Neptune in your first house, and therefore you could get swindled or conned by your own neglect, or by your own neglect to closely look at the fine print of a contract, and or by your own arrogance that you know the right way and this is how it's going to go, and you don't, take all of the necessary steps and procedures to thoroughly look through things. So I would say around this Taurus new moon, look for opportunities that may be coming up. And then for look for new opportunities, but be cautious about, is that job really the practical job for you? Like maybe that job requires a lot of standing and you can't do a lot of standing for whatever reason. Or maybe that job requires a lot of sitting or computer skills that you don't have. So I'm saying, like, look at the practical or the practicality of a new opportunity that might be in front of you, and don't get illusioned or foggy brained about realistically, can you actually stand, sit, or be on the computer for that length of time to fulfill the commitment of that job. That would be the new moon on the 27th. And then on the 12th, that Scorpio full moon, I feel like that's your eighth house. So it could be bringing some clarity to a contract. Could be, and you're going to have Mercury squaring Pluto, like your fear about your involvement in contracts or intimate situations with money, maybe even fears about your taxes. But I feel like this is more about other, like, because Pluto's in your 11th house. So to me, this would be like your communication about your fears about other people's money or your intimate relationships with other people and their money situation. So just, something might get illuminated around the 12th, that could bring light to something, um, that maybe you weren't expecting, um, that creates some fear. Let's see what the card has to say. Uh, you got Okay, the snail and huckleberry, and this is trust in the invisible. Yeah, you may have to put your faith in something that's outside of yourself or beyond yourself. Um, Neptune is as much illusion as it is like the unknown, the unseen. It's like trusting the waves of the ocean, trusting that the tide's going to roll in at night and be there, and, um, trust in the invisible. I mean, having faith that it's all going to work out, having faith in yourself, like cautionary faith, because this could be a learning opportunity to be like, okay, you know what, whenever I make money decisions, I do something erratic. I do something because I'm arrogant, because I'm arrogant. So I don't want to over indulge when I know every time I overindulge, here's the consequence of it. So this could be an investment that you overindulge in an investment, and then, Scorpion comes back and bites you in the ass kind of thing. So trust in the invisible, trust in a guidance system that's beyond you. So that's what I got for Aries. All right, Taurus sun, Taurus rising. This is your forecast for Taurus season. Happy birthday, Tauruses. This will cover the Taurus new moon on April 27th and the Scorpio full moon on May 12th. Okay, so this is your first house and your seventh house. So it's people, relationships, all of the things. You do have Mars now in Leo, and so things with your home life, your foundation. Of course, that then puts Pluto in your 10th house. And so this could be, and because we're in your season, and Scorpio being your seventh house, it's like reevaluating who you're around and whether or not they are supportive, whether they are really the people you want to be around. Can they relate to you on a deeper level than just superficial? Can they relate to you when it comes to your sort of acting not only outside the box, ambitions, um, things like that. Like you've done a lot of work on yourself. Now it's time to really determine, because you've also got Pisces in your 11th house, and that Pisces, the Venus Saturn, was in your 11th house, which is also groups, communities. So there's kind of a delicate balance happening for you, regarding the people you're around, whether it's the people in your your home, your foundation, who's emotionally supportive, the people you work with, Pluto and Aquarius, the people that you're in community with or group relationships with, which could be anything from a social media Facebook group to maybe it's a Discord group, maybe it's your YouTube community, et cetera, et cetera. But then Scorpio in your seventh house is kind of illuminating, like, where are you scared or what's your fear around? And this could get illuminated with that full moon on the 12th. What's your fear around relating to people authentically, or relating to people um, directly, um, deeper, right? This isn't about like a superficial conversation about the weather. This is about, can you relate to people about the esoteric or Maybe you're like a flat earther, or I'm just throwing out examples. Like, can you talk to people, the people in your immediate groups? Can you have conversations with them about deeper topics than the weather and what was for dinner last night? And I think this is something that's going to come up for you over this Taurus season is like, what's your fear around having those people in your corner that actually can meet you on a whole new level? You know, Taurus, you're pretty practical and materialistic and indulgent, and that's all well and good, but when those things don't wait, and I'm not saying don't be practical, but like when the indulgence or the when the indulgence doesn't exist, who then are you buddy buddies with? Who then can they relate to you on the level? It's like the person who reads a book and trying to associate with people who don't read and wondering why their friendships are always like fucked up. It's because you're not trying to be friends with the people who can meet you on your intellectual level, right? So if you're a Taurus rising, and you have Mercury in Aquarius, having superficial relationships is always going to be difficult for you because you think more on a different level. You communicate differently because it's Aquarius, right? That's just an example. But you see what I'm saying? And then Scorpio being your seventh house, like you operate differently. And so it's really a time to evaluate what relationships you have and are they truly supportive to your authentic intellect. All right. And Taurus, you have the bee, as in a bumblebee, and pomegranate. And this is oh productivity. Ooh, I kind of like this because since we were just talking about like friendships, emotionally supportive folks, because you got Mars and Leo, the Scorpio full moon, you've got the Pisces pile up in your 11th, Pluto and Aquarius. When you surround yourself or allow yourself to be surrounded with people who actually can match your intellect and who can support an in-depth conversation, your productivity will accelerate. Your productivity will accelerate. Because when you actually acknowledge your depth and your intellect and your value of not only yourself, but your material possessions, your frequency will go up because you're acknowledging your heart and soul, and your productivity will have nowhere else to go but up. So keep that in mind, Taurus. I hope you have a great birthday season. Gemini sun, Gemini rising. This is your forecast for Taurus season to include the Taurus new moon on the 27th of April and the Scorpio full moon on May 12th. Okay, so we're still dealing with a lot of energy in your 10th house and in your 11th house as planets move in and out move between Pisces and Aries, causing you to have some reevaluations about your career and your public persona, your achievements, and things like that. And you are preparing as Uranus is slowly but surely finishing up in your 12th, and the sun now in your 12th. Like this is kind of that really saturated energy to really dream big and really acknowledge the big dreams that you have before Uranus moves into your first house. But as the sun moves through, there's either going to be a lot of dreams or you're going to have some really grounded sleep, which could be a good thing, right? Because your brain is constantly going. You may be one of those who needs to practice grounding in order to sleep. So try some, essential oils and sleep meditations and things like that. But as things move to and from your 10th house and 11th house, this is like, groups, communities, and maybe shifting from a corporate job to a local government type job, which could completely shift your community group and things like that. You may be also cleaning out your house with the South Node in Virgo in your fourth. You could be, downsizing, decluttering, all of those things, which will also help as you declutter physically, your environment will help declutter your brain environment. And so that's something to keep in mind as we have this sun in Taurus and South Node in Virgo. This could really be helpful for you to declutter, if nothing else, declutter where you sleep so that you can take advantage of getting some good sleep over the next couple of months here before Uranus moves into your first house, your sign. So the new moon, yeah, could be restless, but also could be absolutely draining. And could have you sleeping quite a bit. Full moon in your sixth house in Scorpio, it's your day-to-day routines, honoring, what fears do you have around honoring your habits, your health habits? What fears do you have? Maybe you're scared of actually maybe there's two sides of this, right? You could be scared that you're going to get too rigid with your health habits, or you're scared of not getting rigid enough, and maybe causing like some weight issues or lack of muscle issues, things like that. But this could also be related to career, since you have so much energy in your 10th house. And so, you may be scared to take a new job because it requires you to wake up early, and you don't like to wake up early, or it's an overnight job and that upsets your typical circadian rhythms. So lots of different ways that you could look at that, Gemini. It kind of all depends on how this is showing up for you. So in the cards, Gemini, you got the dragonfly and pansy and balance. I kind of like that for you, because I do feel like you are really, with these nodes in Pisces, Virgo, in your 10th house and fourth house. I do feel like there is a reevaluation of balance. And then of course you have the, sixth house, 12th house for the Scorpio Taurus axis. You've got, those are both really the balance acts. They're a balancing act. And so I really pay attention to your home situation. Where can you declutter? Where can you even digitally declutter? Maybe it's time to clean out your emails and things like that. Again, there's a lot of prep work that you maybe want to do before July, when Uranus moves into your first house. You kind of want to prepare yourself for that, because if you're already kind of spinning around like a chicken with its head cut off, now might be a really good opportunity in this Taurus season to settle yourself down as much as you can, and be productive for as long as you can be productive. So that's what I got for Gemini. All right, Cancers, Cancer Sun, Cancer Rising, time to come out of your crab shell. Time to get seen, time to get public. This Taurus new moon is in your 11th house, groups and communities. And of course, Aries being your career house or your public appearance house. And your 9th house is still lit up with all the Pisces energy. So you could be starting to publish, perhaps, or running a podcast or something like that, which could be shifting who you are interacting with. And who you're, what groups and community groups you're getting involved with. Also, that Scorpio in your 5th house, that full moon might be highlighting where you are scared to share your creativity. What I really see for Cancers is like, we're going to see their face without the filters, without the, like, we're not just going to get voiceovers. We're going to actually get them visually being seen on potentially on social media or in the public sphere, or something like that, because something's in motion over in their ninth house, which is publishing, traveling abroad, etc. And so with this Taurus 11th house getting lit up here during this Taurus season, it's not only having them present themselves to the community, to the public, but it's also bringing up all the fears with that Scorpio full moon on the 12th. It's bringing up the fears of, is their creativity good enough? Is there, it could be bringing up fears around children. You could be dealing with something with children or your inner child, or something to that effect. And so, but the one thing that I really see for cancers is, because you've been working on a project that's maybe kept you a little bit private, a little bit isolated. Now you're getting to the point where you're bringing that project public, and therefore you're going to be seen. But there's also those fears of being in public. And so something to think about for you cancers out there. Don't be scared. We won't bite. You're probably going to pinch us before we're going to bite you. So just something to think about for you cancers. But I hope we really start to see some cancers come out of their crab shell. They've got a lot of wisdom and intuition to share with us. And so hopefully they'll start to bring all of that into fruition. And in the cards, you got the raccoon and the sycamore. And this is curiosity. Oh, I like it. I've been talking a lot about curiosity lately because I've been in a book club where we've been talking about creative curiosity. And so I feel like this is perfect for cancers, because you do have that Scorpio fifth house. So it does want, you want to go deeper, right? You want that intimacy and whatnot. And so I think there's a relationship here. Not really. Yeah, fifth house is relationships and sexual intimacy and things like that. But because you've got so much energy in your 11th, 10th, and ninth house, this feels more like something to do with career, public sphere, getting like involved in a community group, something like that. Again, this is like you're going to start a podcast or publish a book or publish your short story. And that could bring on more intimate relationships with other creatives. That could be really what it is. Things like that. You also have Mars back in your second house. So that could be, your self-worth could be elevated, not in a bad way, but in a good way, that you become more confident in what you are presenting to the public. So that's what I got for cancers. Leo sun, Leo rising. This is your forecast for Taurus season 2. Include the Taurus new moon on April 27th and the Scorpio full moon on May 12th. Okay, Leos, you got a power struggle because going on between you and your partnerships, relationships, etc. Okay, we talk about the seventh house. We are talking about all kinds of relationships, right? This is your relationship to your significant other, but mostly this is about like friendships, who you're associated with, things like that. The eighth house is more your significant other, which is where all of the Pisces energy is right now. And you've really learned a lot from the Pisces stellium, probably about your intimate relationships, or your contractual relationships and whatnot. And then with the Taurus being your 10th house, Scorpio being your 4th house, your career and your public persona, how you are in public, your public achievements is amping up. And then you've got this Scorpio full moon that's going to create or bring up or reveal fears around your emotional foundation, your home life, etc. But what I really feel is like, because we have Mercury moving through Aries, eventually Venus is going to move into Aries, in your ninth houses, I feel like you're going to get a lot more vocal about what you actually need, desire, and demand in your relationships in order, because your career is about to amp, right? Mars is in your first house. So you are amped up, feeling good, probably feeling a little too good because you're a Leo and that's what you do. But I don't mean that in a bad way, but your relationships in your seventh and eighth house between the Pisces, Saturn, North Node, and was Venus, but now Venus is kind of start to move on. But over the last month, you've really seen something about your intimate relationships, your contractual relationships. And with Pluto in your seventh house in Aquarius, you're really starting to see something. And I feel like there's going to be some like viciously direct conversations between Leo risings, Leo suns, Leo risings, and who they are in partnerships with. So if you are partnered up with a Leo rising, then you might want to be on your guard. Because what I feel is happening here for Leos is that they really need a partner or partners or friends or, other support people, people in contractual relationship. They need somebody, they need people who are going to support where they're going. They've learned a lot. They are, they light up the fucking room. They can be, typically Leo risings, the few that I know, Leo risings are very fit. And so like sex appeal and sex appeal to their intimate partner, not only eighth house, but Scorpio in their fourth house, who they are living with kind of needs to match that energy. So if you can't match your Leo rising partner's energy in whatever type of partnership you're in with them, again, be on your guard because Leo risings may be about to like tell you to fuck off. You're not matching my energy, you're not matching my vibe, you're not matching my physique, you're not matching. And I need people in my world who can match my energy, my physique, my vibe, my temperament, all of those things, who can keep up basically with where Leos and Leo risings are going, because they about to go somewhere. And so yeah, this Leos could be the breakup sign of Taurus season, where like the relationship, no, fuck it, I'm done. But also you could open yourself up to establishing a partnership with someone who is way more in alignment with you. I still feel like though there is some kind of mentorship role for Leo risings, Leo suns, Leo risings. I do think there's something in the mentorship. You've got a lot of wisdom, and you're pretty outspoken about how you perceive things, and so I do feel like there's still that like mentorship role to open yourself up to and maybe communicate, meditate, ponder about. Yeah. So I think that's what I got for Leos. Let's get a card for y'all. Yeah, I see Leos as being potentially the breakup, um, ending relationships during this Taurus season. Totally could see that happening. Y'all got the frog and the lotus. That's interesting. Um, this is metamorphosis. Yeah, metamorphosis. You're changing. Um, you're definitely stepping into that year of the snake vibe. You're changing your skin. You're maybe feeling more comfortable in your skin, comfortable enough to say bye-bye, farewell, have a nice life, bye Felicia, whatever it is for you. But yeah, I think this is perfect for Leos. I think you are changing so much and very rapidly, that you really do need people in your immediate world and in your work world and in your friends circle, that you have because you have no choice but to evolve into shift, metamorph into something else. Imagine that you are basically like a power, was it Power Rangers? Or there was Transformers or something like that, like the metamorphed into superheroes. That's a Leo right now. But unfortunately, once they transform into Bumblebee or whatever the Power Rangers transformed into, I can't remember how that worked. That was actually outside of my. But anyway, whatever they metamorphed into, Leos aren't coming back. So All right, that's what I got for Leos. Virgos, Virgo sun, Virgo rising. Before I get into the Virgo forecast, though, I don't know about anybody else in any other area, but certainly in my current area, and I know it was like this in Arizona too, but Arizona maybe not as apparent. But certainly here, you can tell it's summer because the people with the revving engines are out on the streets like it is a car show every fucking night. Okay, anyway, the reason I didn't notice it in Arizona as much is because it happened kind of year round and mostly throughout winter in Arizona. But anyway, I noticed it in the Midwest quite a lot. Okay, I digress. Virgo, Virgo rising. Okay. Virgo, if you've been waiting for some stable energy, here it is, but it's not much. And so your relationships, partnerships, contractual relationships are still highlighted, amplified, all of the things. Pisces is your seventh house, Aries is your eighth house. Those are relationship houses. As well as the fourth house, which is Sagittarius. But luckily, there's not much going on in Sag right now, unless you have Sag placements, then you may have some T squares or whatever. But Taurus is your ninth house, which is publishing, it's travel, it's philosophy, it's religious or dogmatic belief systems. And then Scorpio is your third house, which is all about communication and neighbors, things like that, siblings, maybe, things like that. But what I see here is that you gotta allow people in your, you gotta allow people in or allow people to see what you're up to so they can support you. And I feel like there's, especially if you're into creative writing, because Scorpio, you're terrified of the judgment of others, but that's actually going to be your downfall if indeed that's your goal. Your downfall because if you move forward with sharing your creativity, you're gonna open up for the right people that want to support you. Y'all have heard me talk about there is something on the internet for everyone. So really, Virgos, get over yourselves because somebody out there wants to read your story, read your book, hear your podcast, hear your creative stuff, whatever that looks like for you. This could also mean like practically relocating because ninth house Taurus. So something could open up for you, especially as Uranus is finishing up here in Taurus, the sun's in Taurus. This could be an opportunity opening up for you to relocate, possibly abroad, but certainly long distance. So it could be like across country, and things like that. And then your eighth house of Aries, which is contractual relationships. Again, don't like similar to an Aries rising, you don't want to get swindled or swooned by your own ignorance or arrogance or whatever. You want to make sure that you read the fine print. You want to make sure that you have, I always have like an extra person, right? I don't want to always, I'm, especially if I'm like hunting for housing or clothing or something like that. Like I always have a sighted person with me because I don't trust not only my vision, but I don't trust me to see the details. I'm not a details person. But Virgo, you are, so you may see the details. But now that we have Neptune in your eighth house, you really could overlook or get blindsided by something that you're unwilling to see or acknowledge. But what I really see here for Virgos is this potential. If you just allow people to experience your creativity, your ambition, your project. Because once we get, I mean, Uranus is finishing up in your ninth house, but it's going to move into your 10th house, which is Gemini. And that could open insane doors and opportunities for you to have a whole different career but it will not happen if you are unwilling to allow people to experience the real you. You really got to open yourself up here, Virgo, to really share your authenticity. So you've got Pluto and Aquarius to support that. That being said, you do have Mars moving through your 12th house. I guess I should mention that too. You have Mars moving through your 12th house, so you could be really restless with that much energy in your 12th house. So be aware that you may be restless. And the way to maybe sort of calm your nervous system is to actually be authentic because Pluto's in your 6th house. And Aquarius is your 6th house. So your authenticity will actually bring you some relaxation and relief. So open yourself up to the opportunities, Virgos. Okay, you got the Ram and the Dahlia, Dahlia, Dahlia. And this is determination. Okay, I have two immediate determination. Be determined to share yourself authentically, but Virgos tend to get determined to hide. And Virgos tend to get determined to make life miserable for themselves so they can stay suffering and, oh, woe is me, I can't get a break. You could if you shift to being determined to share yourself authentically with whomever, because again, you never know what's going to open up for you when you share yourself authentically. So I love this for Virgos. And so, yeah, I know you're moving through a lot with that South Node, but I truly believe, Virgos, that as soon as you start sharing your authentic self, it's going to make a hell of a difference and drop that fear of whatever that fear is that's holding you back. All right. All right. Much love, Virgos. Libra sun, Libra rising. This is your forecast for Taurus season 2025 to include the Taurus new moon on April 27th and the Scorpio full moon on May 12th. Okay. You've been really confronted by your health habits, your daily routines, your work habits, things like that with the Pisces pileup in your 6th house. And so this shift in your work habits could be creating changes in your contractual relationships now that we have the sun in Taurus, 8th house. But there could be still some fears around money and finances with Scorpio full moon in your 2nd house. So I really feel like with Libras, it's more about you shifting from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset, knowing that you are safe, knowing that you are secure, that your resources are good, especially if you're in a solid partnership. Whether that is a contractual partnership or a marriage partnership. And so, um, oh, it is actually raining. Okay, sorry, squirrel brain. Um, keep in mind though that now with Neptune in your 7th house, relationships, partnerships of any kind, whether it's friendships or otherwise, could be a bit foggy. But I feel like you've gotten some clarity with the 6th house, with your work habits, your health habits. Like now you know what healthy, or you're seeing what is healthy or beneficial to your health. Routines can be for you, and therefore your relationships gotta follow suit, and therefore your money will follow suit, your self-worth will follow suit, right? You'll notice where you have a worthy or worthy or not so worthy partnership. And so, but then be aware of the fears with regards to Scorpio in your 2nd house. And then that South Node in your 12th house, you probably have made some changes to your circadian rhythms and your sleep habits and your sleep routines and what you need to go to sleep and what doesn't work for sleep and all of those sorts of things with that Virgo in your 12th house. So I would say for the new moon, on the 27th, be attentive to your intimate partnerships, your contractual relationships with regards to money. And then towards the 10th, 11th, 12th of May, Be attentive to where your mindset has maybe shifted with regards to how you are with your self-worth, your value, your money, your resources, and those sorts of things. And in the cards, you got the Hound and the Pair. Interesting. And this is loyalty. Yeah, this kind of makes sense. You're kind of looking at where your loyalties lie. You've kind of been in this spot for a minute where you've been, reevaluating, looking at your partnerships. Where are you loyal? Who are you loyal to? Are you even loyal to yourself? Um, Things like that. But yeah, I think this is completely in alignment because you're kind of still in that space of like, especially now with Neptune and Aries. I think that's going to be an ongoing thing for Libras is like, are you loyal to other people and people pleasing, or are you loyal to yourself and saying no and setting boundaries with people you actually just don't give a flying fuck about? Or are you being attentive to the people who you actually care about and, upholding your boundaries with people that you no longer give two shits about? So I think that's perfect for Libras because Libras are having to learn to really acknowledge themselves and not and set boundaries with other people. So yeah, that's what I got for Libra. All right, Scorpio, Scorpio Sun, Scorpio Rising. This is your forecast for Taurus season 2025 to include the Taurus new moon on April 27th and the Scorpio full moon on May 12th. You already probably heard me say Scorpio full moons are not my favorite. That's okay. We get through them, right? I just don't like them because they get confronting. But anyway, but I digress. All right, so we've had Pisces move through the fifth house for Scorpio. So inner child wounds may have been triggered like a mofo recently, or maybe your creative projects, or being more playful, things like that. You've had to be a little bit more, playful and fun, maybe even a little more passionate in the bedroom. Hey, I don't know. But now we've got Neptune in Aries, Mercury in Aries, Venus is about to be in Aries. So you're kind of starting to pay attention a bit more to your health and well-being, what is and is not good in your health and well-being. And you're starting to kind of detach from people who don't align. And this is totally Taurus in your seventh house. You're done with people who do not value you because you have Virgo in your 11th house, and that's where the South Node is. So, and also you have Mars moving through your 10th house, which is kind of making you want to get going on your career, your public, how you are in public, your achievements, all of those sorts of things. So, Scorpios, be attentive to who's actually supportive. Be attentive to who actually will practically, whether that is resourcefully, it does not have to be financial because there's no money houses here. This is all first house, seventh house, sixth house, fifth house, 11th house, 10th house. Those are all work related houses, nothing in your money houses. So it does not mean that because Taurus is a money sign and so is Scorpio. So I do think there's something to do with money, but I feel like what's about to happen for Scorpios is something's about to just like the floodgates are about to open. You've addressed a lot of your inner child triggers. You've addressed a lot of the people who no longer align with you and who don't treat you with the value and the worth that you know that you deserve. Or that honors you and honors your creativity, those sorts of things. So stuff shifting around in your relationships. So the Taurus new moon, some new relationship, potentially partnership, someone acknowledging you, seeing your potential, seeing your creativity. Full moon in Scorpio, just be aware that some stuff might come up depending on if you have Scorpio placements around, I would say 20, let's say 20 to 25, maybe 24. degrees of Scorpio, you could have some emotions come up, depending on where your actual Scorpio placements are, but something's definitely going to confront you, um, with regards to all that. But I'll say from personal experience, I have been confronted by a lot of inner child wounds, my abandonment wound, things like that. I have been confronted by that recently, and I've really had to take time to address it, and be with it and let it be and all of those things. So definitely take time to be with yourself and acknowledge what is surfacing for you. So let's see what the cards are. I think the thing is that when you're confronted by wounds, it's a matter of seeing that other people may diss you, may um, junk on you, but it doesn't mean that you have to, right? You get to stand above. You know that you're a valuable person, and that everything's going to be okay. So just remember that, open your, like, when we're confronted by wounds, it tends to want to close the Scorpio off, right? Close your heart, all of the things. But the thing is that to keep in mind that don't allow other people to close you off from yourself and to other people who absolutely do want you. And that doesn't matter what kind of wound has been surfacing. But if this has to do with children, like maybe your children hurt you, maybe your children came at you a certain sort of way. It doesn't mean that you're done or that you have to become a cold-hearted person. It just means that there's an opportunity for you to open up to other resources of support for you that are grateful that you are in their circle. So definitely see some stuff changing in friend groups and things like that for Scorpios, due to taking action on creative projects. So you've got Mars in your 10th, um, and all this stuff in Pisces in your fifth. Don't shy away from your creativity because other people can't see it, right? You get to have fun, be playful, be creative, get it out into the public, and it really doesn't matter. People are going to love it. There's something on the internet for everyone. Trust me, I've found quite a bit of things that I never thought I would find on the internet. Like, wow, okay, there really is something for everyone. So don't shy away just because other people don't get it. If you are becoming an empty nester, don't shy away. It's going to be okay. You're going to find new people, that do different things, or whatever. If you're getting kids, you're going to find people, mom groups, etc., all of that sort of thing. So, all right. Um, you got the antelope and wheat. Interesting. Antelope and wheat. Nourishment. I think that's just what I just said. Um, find, allow yourself to stay open and attract the people who want to nourish your creativity, who want to nourish you and nourish your projects. And the thing is that if you let those people who diss you, who don't see your worth and your value, if you let those people like douse your fire, if you let those people squash your dreams, squash your creativity, you do not allow yourself to be nourished by the people who do support you, love you, want to honor you, want to keep your fire lit. You can take that fire lit thing in any direction you need to, okay? Okay. Um, but you leave yourself open, because the thing is that if certain people, certain projects, certain things are not nourishing you, if you allow that to close you off, you're not going to allow the space and the opportunity for people and projects to come in that will absolutely nourish your heart, nourish your soul, nourish your humanity, nourish your creativity, all of those things. And so, that's, yeah, I like this for Scorpio a really lot. I even probably needed to hear that for myself more than anything. So, but try and relate what I said to your own situation. I think that Scorpios have been very confronted by creativity, wounds and other people. And I think this Taurus season will open Scorpios up to opportunities and relationships with people who love them dearly and want to see them succeed, and allow those people to come in and, cut your losses to those who don't. So that's what I got for Scorpio. Sagittarius, Sagittarius sun, Sagittarius rising. This is your forecast for Taurus season 2025 to include the Taurus new moon on April 27th and the Scorpio full moon on May 12th. Okay, so you have been really focused on the rebalance or restructuring of your home and your foundation, and fulfilling your heart and taking action towards your creativity. And now it is time to focus on creating habits, routines, getting healthy to further blossom your passions, your creative passions, your home life. Maybe it's a gardening season. Maybe it's planting new, different kinds of fruits, vegetables, or flowers or other plants this year, something like that. But you are definitely nourishing or supporting the routines and the health that you need. Like maybe you need to go like lift weights or be outside more and take longer walks, things like that. So that new moon might give you that opportunity, or maybe that's like the farmer's almanac's time to plant new plants, plant new seeds, or something like that. But I mean, think about it as it's not only planting seeds in the physical garden, but also planting seeds into what you're going to do to maintain your own physical health, your own daily routines, to be able to attend to the garden that you are planting, whether it's an actual garden or the garden of like projects or other creative endeavors that you've been up to. Scorpio full moon on May 12th in your 12th house. Haha. Sleeplessness. There could be some emotional triggers. There could be some subconscious uncertainties, things like that. Because not only that sun's pretty conjunct Uranus, so there could be some uncertainties causing some subconscious upset that may come to the surface in a dream, or may cause restlessness, sleeplessness, things like that. So I would say just kind of be aware of it. Maybe keep a dream journal around the 10th through 12th of May. I mean, keep it always. I think they're good, but hey, you do you, boo. But I do think this is a really good time for Sages, because I think that they've kind of been just really stuck in the funk of reevaluation of home and family and creativity and emotions. So this Taurus season could really bring some stability to Sages. So in the cards, we have the Fox and Ivy, and this is adaptability. Well, that's pretty much hammering it home. I think you need to be open to maybe solidifying routines and habits, but there's always going to be like changes and upsets and unforeseeable circumstances so it's kind of like keep adapting, keep growing, keep pressing forward, keep being resourceful, creative, all of those sorts of things. So I actually really like this for Sag, kind of one of the easier forecasts for this Taurus season. So I hope you enjoy it, Sag. All right, three more. Three more. Capricorn sun, Capricorn rising. This is your forecast for Taurus season 2025 to include the Taurus new moon on April 27th and the Scorpio full moon on May 12th. Okay, so your fifth house is Taurus, your 11th house is Scorpio. However, you've had a lot of concentrated energy between your third and your fourth house, which has allowed you to improve your communication, maybe establish your new foundation. I think I talked about Capricorn was moving for a new job or something like that, downsizing. Anyway, well, now we're here, and something to do with children, creativity, gardening, homesteading. Perhaps you're establishing a home daycare, something to do with that with your Taurus in your fifth house. Like some kind of opportunity is going to open in the creative um, avenues for you. And then Scorpio in your 11th house, like your fears around the new people, the new community, the new whatever, or your fears around failing at your first garden, failing at your first canning experience, something like that. So I would say embrace the fact that you may fail. Embrace the fact that the first group of people that you meet in your new community may not be the group that you're meant to be around. And so a fail is just, it's like rejection is redirection, right? So perhaps this year you plant flowers and they do nothing. And next year you try vegetables and they do completely great. And it really depends on soil and all of the sciencey things around soil and sunlight exposure and all of those scientific things that I know nothing about. Um, but I thought I would throw that in there. But like I said, this could mean anything from gardening, homesteading to and you know, something to do with children, getting involved with big brothers, big sisters, scouts, or opening up your own home daycare, or something like that. Maybe you're a grandparent, maybe you are I don't know, or maybe you're taking a job in an early childhood place, or maybe you're just embracing your own child and your own inner child and playing in the dirt, or playing outside or something like that. So connect your creativity to something practical, resourceful, earthly, something like that that can kind of keep you I want to say busy, but keep you occupied as you process through the all of the emotional stuff and perhaps like thoughts, like the subconscious thoughts, and things like that is what I'm really thinking, feeling for Capricorns. And in the cards, um, you got the horse and bluebell, and this is modest fortitude. Um, Modest fortitude. I always have to look up the fortitude word. I don't know why I can't commit to memory what fortitude means. So, um, yeah, strength of mind that allows one to endure pain or adversity with courage. Yeah, I feel like, let's see, power to resist attack, strength, firmness. What I feel here is kind of what I was saying, like gardening or taking on a home project or something. It's almost like you've been through maybe a breakup or a divorce, or your children have left the nest or something like that. And that's what this whole idea of you know, the taking on a creative, mindless, maybe, and maybe not even a mindless, but like a creative project where you do have to learn something. Maybe it's like pottery or painting, or, you know, some kind of creative project where you have to learn something new. And that not only gives you something practical to work on and to learn, but it also opens you up to, like, maybe now you can go to a gardening group, or you can go to a class, you know, painting class or a sip and paint, or a pottery class and you get to meet cool people, whatever. This could also be like moving your body, like going to a yoga class, going to a, Pilates class, going to a martial arts class, something like that, where you have to learn something new. Therefore, you have to interact and connect with other people. And I feel like that is the courage and the strength to, connect with new people, and the courage and the strength that you need to heal through whatever it is that you're healing through. So I love that for Capricorn. That's beautiful. So good luck. And yeah, so we got for Capricorn. All right, Aquarius, Aquarius Sun, Aquarius Rising. This is your forecast for Taurus season 2025 to include the Taurus new moon on April 27th and the Scorpio full moon on May 12th. Okay, Taurus is your fourth house. Pisces, therefore, is your second house. So you have been, or if not, are being confronted by your own self-worth to process emotion, your own self-worth to acknowledge your emotions, your own self-worth. Are you worthy of taking care of yourself? Are you worthy of having an effortless, easy life, an abundant life, and things like that? And so that new moon in Taurus is like opening up an opportunity for you to use your five senses or indulge in healthy practices that support processing emotions, that support giving you a space or giving you grace, or a foundation or stability to process your emotions. And then Scorpio, the full moon in your 10th house, is the fear of people noticing a difference in you. Like, will they notice me if I'm actually emotional? Will they care? Will it Aquariuses have this stupid misnomer that they are detached from emotion, but the reality is that Aquarians feel very deeply, and to the point where it's challenging for them to process. So this could really be a difficult season for Aquarians because they're being confronted by themselves. They're being confronted by their own self. They have to look themselves in the mirror and be with the fears of who they are, how they present themselves to the rest of the world, right? And they have to confront themselves so that they can be a more emotionally cleansed person to continue to step into this Pluto and Aquarius energy. I'm really convinced that part of the reason that Pluto and Aquarius is not playing out the way many of us anticipated, with like everybody being authentic and original, is because Aquarians are stuck in their emotions and they're afraid to feel. So Aquarians, it's time to feel your feels. It's time to feel your feels and get practical about your emotional foundation and intellect, and feel into all of your fears that are surfacing for you. You've also got Mars and Leo in your seventh house. So relationships, partnerships, maybe going through the struggle bus because there's people are seeing that you don't value yourself to take care of yourself. And there may be issues and confrontations from others who see like, why can't this person just take care of themselves? What's the problem? And so, just something to be aware of with Mars in Leo. I have no doubt, Aquarius, you got this. You can love yourself. You see your value, you see your worth, and now you've got to acknowledge that to yourself. So, um, you got the Finch and Peach. The Finch and the Peach. Interesting. Uh, Romance. Ooh, if this was any other sign, any other forecast, I would say this is about relationships. And it could be a partnership. I think this is about you. If I were to draw from the tarot deck and it came up the Lover's card, I would say this is about you. You having a passionate, emotionally connected romance with yourself. Now, this does not mean everybody. It could be that some Aquarians are about to have a summer of love, because they have shown themselves self-love, and now they're opening up the opportunity, Mars and Leo, to have partnerships with other people. Sure, that could definitely be a thing. But I really think this is about yourself, and having a good romance, hopeless romantic relationship. Maybe it's time to take yourself out on a date. Or maybe it's time to take your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, if you're a guy watching this video, maybe it's time for you to take them out on a date. When was the last time you took them out on a date and got them flowers and just showed up dressed nice and all of those things? So that romance is in the air for Aquarius. Whether this is about yourself, take yourself out on a date, buy yourself some flowers, do the things to care for yourself. Care for yourself. Perhaps this isn't how you purchase groceries, or how your nutrition, and all of those things. So lots of different ways this could be viewed, but I think this is about Aquarius getting romantic with themselves. Ooh, I like it. Okay, that's what I got for Aquarius. Pisces sun, Pisces rising. This is your forecast for Taurus season 2025, to include the Taurus new moon on April 27th and the Scorpio full moon on May 12th. This is really personal, isn't it? Because you still have concentrated energy in your first house, in your second house, now your third house. Ugh. Okay, these are all personal houses, meaning the first house is you, how you present yourself to the world, the mirror effect, right? Second house, your self-worth, your value, all of those things. Third house, it's um your communication, how you communicate to others, written communication, neighbors, potentially like siblings or cousins or aunts, uncles, things like that. I feel like this for Pisces has been a very private time. I feel like Pisces has been very private, very isolated in the best way possible, because they are literally reinventing themselves. And then Virgo South Node, they've been releasing a lot of relationships. A lot of relationships have gone bye-bye, and they're just not connecting with others, or they're shifting how they connect with others. And then Mars in your sixth house, like you're reevaluating your health habits, your daily routines, work habits, things like that. And Jupiter and Gemini, we haven't talked about it that much, but of course, this has been, kind of highlighting your home and your emotional foundation. And so you have potentially been going through a lot with that. But now the Scorpio full moon in the ninth really could illuminate a potential relocation or long distance travel, perhaps a philosophical shift. Maybe it's a personal philosophy, a personal, maybe you're going to like change your religious beliefs, your spiritual beliefs. Well, I guess ninth house isn't really spiritual, it's more religious, dogmatic. Maybe this is publishing, maybe this is a podcast, something like that. And there's a fear around the completion of that project or bringing it into being. So lots of different things with this energy for Pisces. I think it's because they have really had Saturn, North Node, and Venus, and at times Mercury move through their first house. So they've kind of had a clusterfuck of who the fuck am I? Wait, what? Huh? Who am I? What's going on? What's my worth? What's my value? And of course, now Neptune's in their second house in Aries, like, okay, wait, am I really only worth that much, or should I, increase my rates? Should I take a job that has a better price, that has so many things going on for Pisces in those first couple houses, that I think that I feel like the Pisces have probably been quite isolated, quite in their own space. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's such a personal reevaluation of who they are. But now with this Taurus season, it's time to kind of ground in, or practical, find some practical resources, um, to get back out into the world. And you got the crow and dogwood And this is intelligence. Maybe have you been underestimating yourself, like underestimating your, like Pisces is so known as being like boundaryless and not having the wherewithal to keep their shit together. I think this is kind of a reminder that you indeed do have the stamina, the wherewithal, the intellect to keep yourself contained in order or organized to uphold boundaries. The South Node Virgo in your seventh is possibly a good reminder to continue to be stable and to continue to uphold boundaries with other people. Like you're smart enough to know when somebody's being a shit. And so acknowledge them for being a shit and uphold a boundary with them. So that's kind of what I have for like, don't let them back in. If they fucked you over once, shame on them. But if they fuck you over twice, it's shame on you. So uphold your boundaries with them. So that's what I got for Pisces. And that wraps up the sun and rising signs. Let's see if I can do it without having to pause recording. I've been practicing, there we go, using that as a foot pedal rather than reaching down there and changing it. Part of that's been my back. All right, that's what I got for this Taurus season. Of course, tune into the dailies. I post a new video every time the moon changes signs, and those may say different signs on them, but they're for all people, right? They're a collective reading. And I talk about the current astrology for that moon cycle, and I do the tarot, and I do an oracle, and give you some insight for wellness and how to maybe do some suggestions and ideas for maintaining wellness during every moon cycle through each zodiac sign. So those dailies are for everybody. So I hope you love them. Please leave me a comment. Let me know how you're getting through this time and space. I'm gonna tell you right now, I've heard this from other astrologers before, and I'm usually just like, no, because from coaching, I know that we can all overcome any circumstance. But if you're doing swimmingly well at life right now, and like everything is just sunshine and rainbow poop and unicorns and all that, I'm gonna call you on your bullshit because nobody's having a perfect go at life right now. You can feel good in your skin. Like I may be having tough things right now, but I feel good in my skin, knowing that I'm making good choices that are in alignment with my heart and soul to move my life in the trajectory that I want it to go, that my soul is guiding me to take it. But that doesn't mean that every day to day is not confronting me like like a freight train, like it, because it is, right? I'm having confrontational issues all the time right now. And I have a lot of fear about things that are happening and how it's unfolding in my life. And it's not good or bad. It's just I'm scared of like new things and progress that I'm making on projects, and that a project is almost to completion and I'm going to be sending it to, the next step of the process. I'm like, oh shit, holy shit. And so you can have fear about moving forward as much as you can have fear about being in a sticky, nasty situation. So it's all in your interpretation of it, and all of those things, and all of that. So I've also been dealing with my own health and the fact that I went back to the gym and started lifting weights like I hadn't taken 2 years off from lifting. And guess what? I pulled my back out of alignment. So we're all going through something right now. Some people are going through it in different ways, and some of us are able to make good choices in the moment and be okay with those choices. But and some people are simply just completely ignorant, naive, and gonna stay in their victim-y, bullshit life. That's just how it's gonna go. But think, like I said before, like the line of contrast is getting like thicker and thicker and sharper as we continue to move forward, right? There's some people that are just never gonna evolve and whatever, and that's their life path. Remember, with evolutionary astrology, we have the Saturnian people, the Uranian people, and the Neptunian people. And not everyone's making the shift from Saturnian to Uranian or from Uranian to Neptunian. And there's nothing wrong with that because we don't know the karmic or the, I don't want to use the word karmic. I'm trying to get away from that because I'm doing a little research on karma. But we're not here to say how someone else's life is supposed to go. As much as we love that person, we see the potential in that person. Let me tell you, this has been the hardest lesson for me as a coach to learn. And as an astrologer, when I look at somebody's chart, and not only can I just see from my own intuition, their wisdom, their potential, their creativity, their compassion, their heart. I can see all that just from being around a person. Then I look at their natal chart and I'm blown away. Like, holy shit. And I have to just be okay with the fact that some people are never going to make the shift. Or they're going to make the shift, but it's going to be in a different timeline. Whereas I'm just like, oh my God, like when I look at people's charts and they like have a ton of fire or a ton of earth, and I'm like, man, and I'm looking at my chart, like I don't have any of that shit. I think those are the ones I struggle with the most, but I still look at them objectively because astrology is indeed objective. And I'm, just because somebody has a lot of fire and a lot of earth in their chart doesn't mean that they're not trying to overcome their own wounds and their own cycles that they're trying to break or their own lonely heart or that kind of thing. So, unfortunately, many of us who have been doing this work and doing the evolution and evolving to a positive level. None of us is number one, none of us is in sunshine and rainbow pooping unicorns. But not all of us is in a shithole we can't find our way out of either. And so do I have days when I'm like, this fucking sucks? Absolutely. But in general, I feel good in my skin making the choices that I'm making to move my life in a direction, even if that unknown, uncertain direction scares the bejesus out of me, I'm going to do it. I'm going to move it forward anyway. And so maybe a year from now, we're all going to be talking about, the book that I have in print. So, send good vibes that way. It's close to being done. So, and I have some resources as to, getting it ready for to send it to the editor. So super stoked about that. And also nervously scared because not only do I send it to the editor, but then I'm also planning to record the audio version myself. And I'm actually really scared. I hate the sound of my own voice. But I'm getting better since I re-listened to my own YouTube videos. All right. Happy Taurus season. That's what I have. Again, watch the regular dailies for the day by day, blow by blow astrology update. And I will talk to you for Gemini season, which is going to be a wild motherfucking ride. Y'all thought that this year, we ain't fucking done. No, this year is going to be a constant unknown ride. So I hope you're ready. Buckle up. All right. Hopefully this was helpful and enjoy, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye for now.